Welcome back to Sticks and Strings. I'm Naomi.
I'm Beth.
I'm Eve.
And it is Memorial Day weekend, and I'm a little sad. It's kind of fitting.
Yeah.
We lost my dog yesterday. Our dog, my son's service dog, Quilter. We had to put her down, and so it's been a tough weekend so far. But it's been tough for everyone everywhere with what happened in Texas, and our hearts go out to those families as well. But we're here still doing our crafts. And for me, actually, I started a new project, sort of my quilter project, to keep my mind engaged and processing.
You have a quilter project and a camping project?
Yeah, I'll talk about that when it's my turn. But right now, it's going to be Beth's turn.
Yay.
And we will be drawing for our giveaway, so stay tuned.
Yeah. So, I have 2 of my WIP-GO goals met, and I'm working on the third one, and it should be, if nothing goes wrong, I should be finished.
Aren't you special?
Yes, I am. So, my Western Biscornu that I've been working on since at least 2019, if not before. This is my first Biscornu pattern that I started, but I finished it.
Finished
it. Yeah, I finished it. And they're actually, somebody had mentioned when I posted it,
Are you sure it's not backwards?
Yes. Somebody, more about that later. Somebody had posted that, they were afraid to do one, and when at the time that I started this, I had not done one before, and I was afraid also, but then I did 2 others before I finished this one, and once I bit the bullet and put it together, I realized that it's
not that scary.
Yeah, it's very simple, and you do have to hand sew them together, which is perfect for me because that's it's easier for me to hand sew things. But it's if your hands go like this, you turn your hands this way. This is what the how this Biscornu goes together. One piece this way, one piece that way. And so it's fairly simple. And if you backstitch a line around each side, so it's you just have to find the mid-center and put it together. So anyway, but this is done. The little swirls are done. This very simple back is done, and I have
That's
some.
so cute.
I found the buttons that I bought originally for this. And so I'm gonna look at between those buttons and the other ones I bought. Huh?
Is
No.
that a saguaro button?
No, they're purple.
I might have a saguaro button.
Ooh.
I saw some saguaro buttons, but they were like shank buttons, so I didn't buy them. But So anyway, there's that. So that the goal on this was to finish it, and I finished it. And then I had this one was I had 10 days on this old clipper ship, and I did that. I just met that goal yesterday. So did I have this upside down now? I had it upside up to begin with. Okay, so when I started, I think I had I had most of this sail done. I put I finished this section of the sail, and I had some of the lighter outline. So I did all the darker outline, and I did the dark brown masts and spars and stuff, and I did the flags. And so yeah, I made pretty good progress on it. I still have a long way to go before it's finished, but I did that. I did my 10 days on that. So in another year, I'll do another 10 days. If I don't finish it before that. And in the theme of last week's, if it's worth doing twice.
I thought that was a pretty good thing.
Yes. This was the bookmark that I did for my niece.
It is the bookmark.
It is, yes. For graduation. And I showed it last week, and I took pictures of it and everything.
It's
and posted it on the video and posted the pattern and everything else. And then I talked to Eve about putting it on the Etsy shop. I was like, we could put this pattern on the Etsy shop. And she goes, I didn't want to say anything during the video, but are those H's backwards? Where it says either and something, and and worse.
I couldn't read it.
And I thought,
I remember thinking it looks weird.
Yeah,
but I didn't.
It was.
my brain
I thought
didn't
it was
understand
the weird. We were talking about fonts. I thought it was the weird font. And then I looked at it and I'm like, yes, those H's are backwards.
all of them.
All
That's
of them.
So weird.
It was a weird brain thing. So I picked them all out. And I picked out just the H's.
It didn't take her long.
Yeah. Oops, this is upside down. So I had to, but I had to like re-anchor. I actually had to stitch a couple of letters because I had to re-anchor everything because I was able to do the whole quote part in like 2 or 3 threads because I always used the loop method when I stitch with 2 threads, and I'd stitch the quote with 2 threads just so it would show up better. But so wherever I had to replace the H's, I had to like snip and anchor and things and and redo it. So yeah, the pain in the neck, but I did it.
Sorry.
I fixed it. So now it's correct. If you want to buy it, it's correct now.
It's not up
It's
there.
not. It's not on the Etsy site yet, but yeah.
Nice. Now it makes all the sense in the world.
Well, I just kept saying, why don't I like that? What's wrong with it? When I saw the pictures, I said, there's something wrong with that. And then after the video,
It's backwards.
she was talking to me about putting it on the Etsy shop, and I said, can I look at that more closely? And I'm like, are those H's supposed to be like that? Are they backwards?
How funny.
And then
Remember, I have a thing about fonts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the last of the 3 WIP-GO goals for this month, the last one is 10 days on pandemic, and by the end of the month I will have done 10 days. I started about here in the middle, and I've done about half of this middle, well, maybe not quite half, about 2/3 of this,
I wish I
not
could.
half, less than half, yeah, I guess.
Wish you could what?
I wish I could get back to that. I love that pattern, but it is so monstrous.
So, I had, when I first started it, I had thought about, I'm going to do all different shades of blue, and I'm going to do the animals. There's, various animals in this thing. I'm going to do them all different, whatever. And then I got started on that. I don't want to think about, I don't want
Have to change.
different, yeah.
Decisions.
But when I was working on it, I got down to these little reindeer down here. Little deer, I should say. And I did them in a shade of étoile. So it's another shade of blue, but it's, yeah. So I worked on, I had about half of this logo thing, like one side of it and the middle, and so I've done these 2 lower round things and the whole other side of here. In
But
the
so
last
far, you've
several
only
days.
done the florals. So then you could even come and do this, like the border in a different color if you wanted.
If I wanted.
I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
you did those 2, and then so this is like a floral in a pot. You see? Mm-hmm. So you could do the pot different too.
Well, I'm gonna and see these 2 owls here and these butterflies and these little whatever they are. I think I'm gonna do them all different because they're all not connected.
You haven't done these owls yet?
No, I haven't gotten up there yet. So yeah, like
So
I said,
now you're encouraged to do things differently.
Yeah.
Oh, there are some 2 little birds in there, but that's okay. You can. I almost can't even tell that they're birds.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I was just now pulling on the thread, and I thought I had a knot because it wouldn't pull, and I had a loops in front. I was holding onto the loop too.
What's wrong with this thread? It won't move. So then, I've got to put these over there somewhere.
I can barely set this down because it's.
I don't know. There's yeah. So then, since it's yesterday, I guess was the 27th or
Yeah.
Yes, today's 28th. So Friday was the 27th. So Jessie Marie called the June WIP-GO numbers, and one of them I have is this kitty kitty la-di-da kitty kitty, and the model is done on black Ada, and I had this dark green linen, and when I started it, I had figured out how to do it, and I had done the little tree branch thing, and I think I had started on the cats, and then I had set it down, and then last year I did a WIP Mania, and I did like one day on each thing I had or whatever, and I picked it up and it's like I lost my mojo. I couldn't stitch on the dark fabric and everything else, but I am determined. My goal is 10 days on this, so. And it's not really a very complicated pattern. It's pretty simple.
Well, that's cute.
Yeah. I just have to do it,
Is this initials? L-I-T?
Yeah, that's, what's her name? The designer.
I see.
Lori.
And it has this pretty frame. That's cute.
Little border, yeah, so. I have to get my.
Did you dye that or did you buy it?
No, I bought it. You
probably said that I wasn't listening.
I was at the attic, and I love that color, and it's like the way I used to be attracted to like eyeshadow colors. The color itself was really pretty, but it's like nothing I would wear. You know? Yeah. So, and then the other number she called was I have this Monster Wonder Whale. This is by now I can't say the name.
Owl Forest Embroidery.
Owl Forest, there it is.
It's right there.
It says right there, Owl Forest Embroidery. So last time I worked on it, as far as I got, the whale.
I love that pattern.
So this is a June one?
Yes, this is for June. So this is with kit. So it came with all the fabric, and I have all the threads and everything for it. So the whale.
I love how we'll show a picture of the pattern, but
he's all
the
wrinkled.
The back of the whale, it looks like Fair Isle knitting. I love that, like a Fair Isle sweater.
Yeah. So there's
so pretty.
Yeah. So just the whale itself, I'm working on. I think right now I'm working on the spout that turns into a tree.
Which takes me to my story.
But yeah, so I'm very jealous of your story.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. So
what about that pattern?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's one. And so then we talked last week about upcoming cross stitch camp, and so I have I think I know what I'm going to do for July and August, but June is the pressing thing because it starts on June 1st, which is in a few days. And so the June challenge was something that celebrates a holiday. So this is obviously Christmas, and it's this, and actually 2 or 3 of the things that I have in mind could fall under all these different challenges because I've never done anything by this designer either. Designed by Sandra Sullivan, Mary Noel Collection, Good Must I Be, Homespun Elegance is what the design thing is. So it's just an old-fashioned, little. I can't tell. I think this is an ornament finish, but I'm not sure. But it's just a little Santa Christmas ornament thing.
You have a whole bunch of prairie schooler Santas. You could do that and save that for August.
That's true. I don't know. But this one I already have kitted up.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing, real quick, I wanted to talk about stuff that's in the Etsy shop because I had last week we talked about the butterfly needle minder things that I did for the giveaway, and while I was at it, I did some more other needle minders. So there's this one that is a seahorse
with like a abalone shell on it.
Little shell.
So it's a seashell seahorse.
Seashell.
That I actually put that in the description somewhere.
Say it 3 times fast.
A seashell seahorse.
And then this heart is a sort of a steampunk. Oh, we'll take better pictures so you can see it because it's very tiny. You can't see it. And then
I have pictures, I think.
Yeah, and then this magnet belongs to somebody else.
Well, you shouldn't have stuck them together.
Butterfly, and it actually has 2 antennas. The other antenna's back here behind this heart.
Butterfly. I looked up and I went, you can't see that butterfly.
I think this belongs here. Okay, and then some
seahorse heart.
So, oopsie. There's a bunch of these little butterflies like the one in our giveaway. So
Fun.
They're not exactly like.
Yeah, but they're similar.
Don't say similar.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I don't like that.
So they're in a big wad here because their magnets are all.
They're strong magnets, and so if you get them too close to each other, they go. You got to make sure your fingers aren't in the way.
Yeah, I've done that before. I'll snap my fingers on them. So I think that's all of me.
Can I go next, and then you can go into stories from yours?
Sure.
Okay, so.
I'm just over here untangling yarn.
The big thing is, I FFO'd my scarecrow from last week.
That is so cute. I love that.
This is a like a window.
You can hang that.
Yeah. This is like a window thing, and it's got chicken wire in it that I got at Hobby Lobby. I think Hobby Lobby. And I picked up last year because I was going to work on this and finish it before Halloween last year. This is why my things had to go in WIP-GO. Like, work on your own designs, not just everybody else's. I picked up this stuff last year. And I... on my video last week, on Monday, I talked at length about bows. Not on how to make them. I didn't do a tutorial.
On what?
Bows.
On
bows. I thought you said those. I thought, well, those what?
On bows.
Bows.
This is some pumpkin fabric, and then right here, this is a trim. I don't want to call it a ribbon. Hobby Lobby has something similar, but I got this from Rose Mill, and it looks like little leaves on a like a stem kind of thing.
I use it on the owl.
Yes.
Yeah, you gave me something to use on the owl.
Anyway, I thought it looked a lot like the corn stalks, so I put that on there. And then I did just a little, not whitewash because it's green.
Green wash.
But on the frame.
Like just a light coat.
Yeah, this is just some pics of corn and pumpkins. I actually had them on the table in the fall. Because I had already purchased them to finish this.
It looks so cute, Eve.
Yeah. Anyway,
here.
I can put it over here.
Okay.
Okay, so as I mentioned last week, I fell out by the pool, and my shoulder still hurts, but not as bad. So I finally started quilting again after a while. I've had issues, but I have too much stuff. I have my snowman quilt. I have a picture, so I'm not going to unfold it. I have it almost all quilted.
So
I just need to do a couple more lines on the border. Even holding this up hurts. Anyway,
it's so cute.
I just love it, and it's gonna like either be on my dad's lap all winter or what I like is that it's snowmen.
Yeah.
It's not Christmas.
Yeah.
It does have like an ornament, Christmas ornament border, and the back of it, I think, has more of a yeah, it's got ornaments and snowmen and stuff, but it's not overtly Christmas, so it can be out
Into January, February.
Mm-hmm. It can be out as long as it's cold here. Oh, wait a minute. That's just a few weeks in December. But it can be out for a little while. And I just love it. I love snowmen. I love that. I like the way it's coming out. I had to go to Hobby Lobby twice in a row, and those turned into long visits. Not just to Hobby Lobby, but other things. And so I didn't get as much done on it. And it took me a while to even feel like doing anything. I was just vegetating for a while. And then I'm working today on Daisy May by Stitching with the Housewives. And this is how far I've gotten. Not a whole lot because I'm doing other things. But I'm real happy with that. I love this color on this thing. I'm so happy about the color it came out. And then, so for WIP-GO for me was the snowman quilt in May. Was a snowman quilt, and then to finish another quilt that I have, another quilt top that I have, and obviously that wasn't going to get done because I've had too many issues physically. But the third one was, I will get it done. Just not yet. It'll go into the stack with the other quilts that are behind from this year. Working some more on The Greatest Story. I have this ornament almost done. I just need to put in their faces and a little bit of back stitching and then the hanger up here. However, those of you that have purchased this from me or received it or whatever, if you haven't already finished it, I'm changing a couple of things on it and I found an error. So after I finish doing the all of it, I'll put a new one up. It's not what I'm changing is the face color. In a bigger pattern, the face color looks good. But I thought, oh, it's just because of the yellow. No, you just can't see it. And you want to see that their faces, they don't have any faces. So I'm going to change that. And it's a minor error. But this wasn't symmetrical for some reason. It still looks round. If you did it that way, it would still look round. It just
Isn't exactly.
It isn't what I wanted. So I will make a new PDF, and I'll put that up on the Etsy shop of just this change and the face color changes, and then any other changes. I'll try to make sure anybody who has this pattern knows it, okay, and has the new version. All right, so didn't get as much done on this as I wanted, but I certainly have on WIP-GO. It was my designs 15 days. I've worked on them more than every other day. I have that done. I know I do. So, but I'm enjoying working on my patterns. I have the little flamingo that I need to fully finish. I'm getting really where I'm just like, I want to fully finish everything. I've liked the last couple of fully finished things that I've done.
You're so good at it.
I enjoy it. But of course, I've always enjoyed getting glue on my hands. I don't use hot glue. I can, and Beth has a nice hot glue gun. But
And you know, I found that for me,
I don't like burning my hands, and I don't like the lump, and I don't like the spider webs.
And I feel like it also just can peel off.
It peels off. Those spider
permanent.
webs just really get me. I'm like, you're constant, and you even see, and okay, I love Priscilla's stuff. When I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's really cool the way she finished it. But they're constantly picking spider webs off. I don't think it's animal hair.
Well, when you have to do stuff so fast, like they're doing.
Oh, they
stuff.
finish stuff fast. Yeah.
So,
I use that fast tack, the Aleene's fast tack.
That stuff's magical.
Yeah, I like it because you only have to hold it on there for just a little bit, and then you can let go.
I was gonna say, last time I tried to use hot glue, I had real trouble with it because of my stroke. It's really hard for me to like do a straight line and squeeze at the same time. You know, to like squeeze the glue gun and make a straight line, and it ends up going, you know, because I don't have the strength in my hand anymore.
Well, and Ivana Pfeiffer,
Or the control.
Twisted Stitcher, she uses Aleene's for, like, you know, other than she what's it called? She threads it on the back to put the stitching onto something. She stitches it. She doesn't glue, but
She gathers it, like, kind of in the back.
on the back, what is that called? Where you gather it on the back with thread. It's left my head entirely.
Yeah, I know what you I can't say it either.
Anyway,
Lacing.
That's how she puts them on there. But everything else, glue.
Yeah.
And she uses just regular Aleene's glue. But she leaves it upside down in something, and so it's always ready. Because, you know, those of you who use Aleene's, you know that it dries inside the bottle, even if you leave the cap on, and it's very annoying.
My favorite satisfying thing is getting a pin and picking the boogers out.
Yeah.
I love glue boogers.
Glue boogers.
Anyway,
Sorry, yeah.
so I leave it upside down in something, and it even, you know, weeks, months later, it's ready for me to go, and it only takes a little bit of, you know, getting the glue cap off to get it ready to go again. So because in the past, when I didn't leave it upside down like that, and you have to be careful with the temperature you leave it, but it would solidify into a brick, and you know, it's not horribly expensive, but you don't want to keep buying it and having it dry on you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, I digress. I'm
That's
working.
what this whole video series is about, isn't it? Digression. That's why you show up every week, to hear us digress about all the crazy things we digress.
So, on Summertime Berries, the attic still hasn't been able to get in my my 32 count white because I didn't want linen. I wanted Lugana, and they have it on order. It's just been back ordered, and so the next time I go, I'm just gonna see if there's something else I can use. This has it has a whole bunch of 1/1, so I don't want to use Ada, because I mean I could and then back stitch those words instead of, you know, stitching them, but I really like the way this looks. That blue on that bright white there, I like it, you know. So they're trying. They're trying for me. You know, they can't make the manufacturers send the stuff.
Yeah.
If they could, you know. But I'm thinking about going over there today to see if they have the autumn berries And if they don't, to put an order in for them.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lugana that you ordered is a 32 count?
32 count white. I said bright white, but it's just white.
Yeah.
And they last time they looked, and that's when I got this this blue color and the one that I did on the other berry, and it's a whitish one. It's got little lines through it, and I could use it for this other one, but I don't know.
Yeah, because when you were saying that, I was like, well, I buy white 28 count by white Lugana all the time, but I thought, oh yeah, but she's doing them 32 count. Yeah.
So this is my progress on More Summer Please.
That's cute.
And East Coast Crafter, Helen D, she finished her version of this. Remember, I don't have her permission, so I can't repost it. But if you want to see this done, she had it on. It's up on Instagram, East Coast Crafter, and it is so stinking cute. It was my least favorite when I looked at the pattern, and this is my favorite. But I noticed I put the stars in the wrong spot. I'm going to leave them. I'm just going to put one more up here by the s'more. And
Well, it's not like you're making a constellation.
Yeah.
The stars can be wherever they want to be.
I know. I'm going to leave those and just put in one more.
Yeah.
So I had been going to an eye doctor every so often. He's been treating my eyes for something and prescribing a particular eye drop. And it got to be where I was really having very little issue. But my most recent visit, I had to reschedule because I needed to do something I couldn't put off. And the soonest they could get me in is mid-June. So I've been without those eye drops all month, end of last month, and this month. So they won't prescribe them because they can cause pressure changes in the eyes. Mm. So they won't prescribe them without doing all the tests. So, yeah. So I'm having trouble seeing. So the 32 count to me, I'm like, when did these holes get so small? So I have to take my time on this, otherwise I'll be pulling out too much stuff. So, yeah. So I have not been sewing on it as much as I want. I still want to do it. It's just, I'm struggling with it. But it's supposed to go up today in rotation, so I should work on it tonight. I've been going Daisy and this and that one, Daisy, this, that one. But then I'm going to have to add in my next week's, well, technically it is next week, next month's WIP-GO challenges, plus, which are for me 5 days on, there's 2 more of these wizard snowmen. They're by Cross Stitching for Fun, a free pattern that you can download from her Facebook. Cross Stitching for Fun? Yeah. And it's the houses of Harry Potter. So this one's Mary Gryffindor, and I finished Mary Slytherin in January. So I have to start on the next one. And I would show you a picture. I'll show you some picture of these two together like this later. I would show you a picture of the 4 of them. I don't know what I did with it. Yeah. And so, but it's similar. They're all similar. Minor changes and a color difference because it's the different house. So that is one of my projects for WIP-GO next month. And also, this is also cross stitching for fun. These are the spring bookmarks. And I have 10 days on this, and I think I'm going to start on this one, this yellow
The middle.
daffodil.
It's pretty.
Do I have it right side up? So I said 10 days. I don't know that this will take me 10 days. They look simple, but one of the things about her designs is that they have a million colors in a small space.
Yeah. So to change their.
So yeah, on this one, it was really bad. It was like 2 stitches here, 2 stitches there, you know. So this seems larger blocks of color. So, but this is my least favorite one, and these two are virtually the same. So I have the fabric to do both of them, but I may only do one rather than doing them both. This one might turn out prettier than what I think. And she designed this. These are what are those flowers called? Those are they little, not bluebells, but kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
Are they bluebells?
Yeah, I think so.
I may have to make them solid because the fabric, I think the fabric that I chose for this, I dyed a green fabric for this. And it has little flowers. You'll see a picture up close. It has little flowers, but I don't think that they should be green inside. What do you think? Yeah, anyway.
Aren't those, they're like, is it Lily of the Valley?
Maybe so.
Yeah, and
Are
they're
those
white.
Yeah.
So I could fill it in with white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Because
think that's what that is.
I don't think on the pattern, I don't remember.
Bluebells, I think, are bigger and they have like pointy little. Those
Maybe.
look like the little round lily of the valley. I think that's what
I love the way she does bees. I have her bees on another project that I started that I still haven't done. It was my showstopper for September, and I have this much done.
And it stopped the show.
I stopped the show right in its tracks. Well, because I got busy doing other stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to get just this middle one done in the 10 days. But if I finish this one within the 10 days, I might move on to one of these 2 outer ones. Probably this one because it's on teal. I marked up here because I dyed different fabrics and I wanted to remember what color I had chosen for each one.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so I wrote it up here. And I already finished this one. So anyway, that's my other WIP-GO call. And then for something for a holiday, I had ordered, not right when I saw it, but soon after, Hands-On Design, the summer basket. And I did listen to her floss tube, and she said, well, I designed these to kind of look like 4th of July, but using the colors that I like for my house, which her colors happen to be my favorite colors. Teal. Well, I don't mind the red. Teal and red. So she said, just, you can change the colors. 2 colors of red, 2 colors of blue, and a neutral. Well, I like her colors. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to, for cross stitch camp, I'm going to do this one in the, when you see the picture, this one that's in the upper corner up here. It's got stars and stripes.
Well, that's so cute.
They
They
I
look
love
like
it.
little quilt squares.
Yeah, that's what she designed them as. And then the
That's neat.
I'm not gonna do
I like the
pillows.
one on the bottom.
Yeah, it's
that
beautiful.
One's really neat.
But these 2 look less holiday to me, less 4th of July.
Yeah.
So then these are quilted with big stitch quilting. Look, see those big stitches? Hand quilting with big stitches.
Cool.
Yeah. She also has a tutorial on doing that and making these pillows. And then she makes it's a pillow cover, And then she has a tutorial on making the pillow to go inside the pillow covers.
How big do they want to?
The pattern is only 67 by 67.
Oh, so it's a little like this.
I'm gonna do it on 14 count, and it'll be 5 inches square.
Oh, okay.
Ish.
So little pillows.
Well, and then the outside part.
Right. But
So they're not big. I think that hers were about this big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to use this. It's called Spa. It's a very light green. And these are the colors. Let me see.
Is it Ada?
Yes.
That one?
Yes.
That's that one we saw the other day.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are the colors right here. With that.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
So that's ready to go. I finally get to start on that on the 1st of June. And in keeping for July, it's something you can finish not in a frame. Now, how many of you have seen me finish in a frame? Nobody. But I decided, since I'm doing the berry SAL, I'm going to go ahead and stitch this berry right here in Stitch All the Things, because I have that little ribbon trim already that looks like a measuring tape. I did not buy it from whoever this is. Lady
Dot Creates? Or is it? Yeah, Lady Dot Creates.
Yeah. I didn't get that from her. I happen to have purchased some from rosemill.com, just like the ribbon trim or whatever that I used on the scarecrow. So this is my July project. I just gotta kit it up. I have all the threads. I bought them the last time I went to the attic. So I guess when we met Vicki there, I love the name of some of the names of their stuff. Grasshopper. Do I have them all or just Battleship? I might have. Anyway, so the only other thing, it's like I'm forgetting something. I have a story, but the only other thing is I made, for my niece, I made one of these, and I attached a key ring to the top of the lobster claw, and the lobster claw is shaped like a cat.
That's cute.
And then it has 3 cat beads, and then another cat. Anyway, I made one for Hannah. It looks slightly different, but I made one for Hannah. And these two I will be putting up in our Etsy shop. They're really cute. So you can use it as a keychain because it's going to have the keychain top, or you can take that off and use it as a scissor fob. So
Nice.
So I think it's finally your turn, Naomi.
Okay, I need to make one more stitch. Wait,
No,
let me put a
no,
thread.
No, don't put the thread. No
Take
putting
it up,
in
put a
I
threads.
forget to talk about your book.
I know,
Right.
in stories.
stories,
In
yeah.
stories.
Okay, so I have a finish, but I hate it. Okay, and it's hard for me to say, but okay. So this had much promise. Remember the shirt, the little sweater? Okay, so as I started to finish it, it has you do the back first. And so this is the back. And it tells you to stop, to do this pattern with the holes, the lace pattern, all the way up until the armhole reaches 9 inches. So I stopped the back at 9 inches, and I think last time I showed this, that's where the back was, and that was like basically right at the top where this lacing ended here. And then I started the front, and it said also, so it said to go until these middle stitches here reached a certain number. Now, it didn't adjust the number for the size, which I think is wrong. So usually when you do a pattern that's sized, it says, you know, this many stitches for small, this for medium, this for large. But when it said to stop at the neck edge when there was only, whatever it said, 26 stitches left, it didn't have 26, 28, 30, whatever, for different sizes, which I think doesn't make any sense because the proportions will be different. But so I had actually gone too far, and I had to go back. And as you know, the front and back panel of this I did like 15 times. And so I stopped when it said, but it was basically the same size as the back. Now it said to make a 10-inch armhole for the bigger sizes. So I was like, you know what, even though this is the small, I'm going to go ahead and go until the armhole is 10 inches, which would give me room to shape the front of the neckline. So then when I did that, I went to the back, I picked up stitches and added an inch on the back. And still, so Hannah came home and she's like, I like it, because I'm like, there's something wrong because it didn't have the...
She can't get it over her head.
No, she can, but the schematic, so the measurements of the arm and then the increase to the neck and then the shaping of the neck, the schematic on the thing was completely different from what I wound up with. And I checked gauge when I was down here, and my gauge was fine. But this up until here is knit in the round. So what I think happened is that this is the gauge that was in the pattern, and then when the back and front, I had to go back and forth, so knit one row, purl the other, and I'm doing this blasted lace thing, and I had to do it 15 times. So I think what happened was that my gauge from this lace part up is too big. So that meant that when I hit the stitches, the count for the front of the neck, it was already too long. So Hannah's like, no, Mom, finish it. So I grafted the shoulders. That's a pretty darn good grafting, if you ask me. I grafted the shoulders, and I didn't finish the neck edge, and I had her try it on. And the front of the neck came up like this instead of coming down. But she was like, she's like, I like it, Mom, finish it. And I'm like, I hate it, but I'll finish it for you. So I did the neck edging on it. And she hasn't actually, since I finished it the other night, she hasn't tried it on. So, and I'm like, if you hate this, I will not be offended because I actually hate it. It kind of looks like a little turtleneck. And I don't have any pictures of her with it on. But if she likes it, I mean, look at it. It's kind of stupid. So anyway, this was the ill-fated. Now I can't even tell which is the front and the back now. I had a marker on it, but I took it off when she tried to. I think this is the front. Oh, yeah. And that's the other thing, is because everything was off, you can see here that the back lace and the front lace don't meet. And it's really marked here. See?
Yeah, when you showed it, I was like, was that supposed to be like that?
No. And then also, oh yeah, and I can tell this is the front because there's shaping here. But the other problem was that when I went to graft this shoulder had 26 inches and this shoulder had 28. And I don't know why.
28 inches or stitches?
I'm sorry, 26 stitches and 28 stitches. So there were supposed to be 30 stitches reserved for the back, but I just fudged it. This one is 28 stitches and this one's 26 stitches, and at this point I was like, forget it, I don't even care. So that was fun. So this is an entire era of my life. I haven't even blocked it because I'm so angry at it. But I'm like, if you like it, you can wear it. If you hate it, I won't mind.
It's a cute pattern.
It's a very cute pattern.
But if you can't read it,
and because there was so much, and I really think that's the problem, is my gauge completely changed in the top. I mean, it's a big learning lesson for me to really make sure of that, or I could have gone down a needle size knowing that, you know, and that might have helped, but I didn't. So my other project, when I went to Boston, I remember I debated what to take with me. So I decided to take the camping blanket because I decided I needed something that I could knit on the airplane or, you know, just sitting around my friend's house. So I did. And this is how far I got. Look at it. Isn't it cute?
That's cute.
So I know the pattern really well now, and see my little mitered corners, and I like the way the yarn, the variegations are long enough that the yarn, it almost divides exactly around the corners, so that's fun. So this will be my camping knitting when I go next week. So we'll see how far I get sitting by candlelight with mosquitoes. But I think that'll be fun because it's just real simple. So I got pretty far while I was in Boston. And then, so I told you about my dog, and we were very sad. And I had been thinking about starting a new project before I left for Boston, but I was like, I can't take that with me. It's too much. And it's something I've been wanting to do. It's from Knit Stars 6. It's called Think Like an Artist Cowl. And a couple months ago, I don't know when it was, last year, I brought that ring of all those little mini skeins. Remember I put it on my head like hair? I think that's the screenshot of the video where I talked about it. But I went ahead and caked it all up. All the colors. And I did it last night. And so one of the things, I talked about that podcast that I listened to about knitting is therapy. And one of the things it said is like, when your brain is so full of like a complicated pattern, it kind of helps you process other things because your brain is so focused. So I'm like, that sounds like something I would like. So I decided to start it. So here's my start. This is all color work, and it looks really bad because this is the very first section you do, and it's a 4-stitch repeat. Look at all these stitch markers because it's every 4 stitches I have, and so it's kind of a pain. And it looks like a mess right now. It's what we call in knitting fiddly, because you start with a provisional cast on, which is you use a crochet hook to make a cast on with waste yarn, and then you start the color work and you make in the round, which is nice because it's all knitting, no purling, and you make a tube, a long tube, and then you basically block the tube, and then you take that provisional cast on edge, which is this waste yarn. You take the waste yarn out and they become live stitches, and you take the ending live stitches and the beginning live stitches and you Kitchener stitch graft them together, and then you have a cowl, and it's like I don't know how long it is. I think it's about like maybe this long, and then you can double it. But it's every block. It's really cool. Every block is based on a different artist that the designer studied, like inspired by their artwork. And in the lesson in Knit Stars, she talks about all the artists and why. And so like this beginning one is like it's like a plus symbol kind of thing. I can hold up part of it. Hold on. You can see that's what I'm doing right now. So it's like 3 or 4 colors of purples. Looks blue on there, but it's just like a a checkerboard almost, or plus signs, which is pretty complicated, but it's only 4 stitches at a time, so it's not too bad. But so I don't know. I just decided, even though I have so many WIPs and so many things, I just decided this kind of will be my quilter remembrance cowl, and just let me process everything that happened with this. This kind of, it's a distraction, I guess you want to say, and it'll take me forever, and I'll work on it little by little, but yeah, so I started a new thing last night because I needed to start something new, even though I have a million WIPs going.
There's nothing wrong with having a million WIPs.
Well, no, I know. It's just, sometimes it gets ridiculous. Speaking of WIPs, so long ago I talked about my... No. No, I have to work on WIPs as they come in my mind and my heart. So this is my sock. Remember my bust knitting? I started decreasing, and I got too few stitches for my little 9-inch needle. So then I added another, I think this is probably, I don't know how long this other one is. If this is 9 inches, that's probably, 12? Anyway, I added another needle to try to go around the circumference without having to switch to double points, because I don't want to switch to double points, but I'm probably going to have to soon, so I can graft the toe, because I have to just keep decreasing until it gets to 16 stitches, and then I'll be done with this sock. I'm going to have to make another one. So I just wanted to give you an update on my bust knitting sock, which has turned into complicated knitting now, so I can't do it on the bust, because it's I have to pay attention with the decreases and stuff. So that's me. That's everything. So, do we want to draw for our drawings?
Yes, I think so.
And then we'll do stories?
Sure.
Okay. So we're going to do our drawing now. So for let's do this one first.
Yeah, sure.
For the, what's this called?
Bird pattern.
Coffee bird.
Coffee bird pattern and project bag. And it's got all the threads. It does not have fabric, so you can choose the fabric to put on. But this is the coffee bird pattern. We're going to draw now. Spin it.
Okay, so for bird, we had several people. Oops, where's that ad? Okay, so I have all the names of the people who said the word bird in their comment.
And remember, if you entered for more than one, if you win one, you're ineligible to win anything else.
Right.
So,
right.
Okay. Just want to put that out there.
Okay, so now I'm gonna spin.
Attention.
Maybe the spinning. I turned the sound off so it won't go.
Oh.
VIPR.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Spoopy.
A bird will be winging its way to you.
Yay, coffee bird goes to
these down
Virpi. Yes.
here, so
Write
I
down
don't
so we don't forget.
forget. Ah,
Or you
sorry.
could watch the video again so you could remember.
Do remember to send us
Send us an email with your
think we
address.
might have-
Yeah,
We might have, because I think you won it before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we might have.
but just to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our email is in the description box. So any of our winners, make sure you email us your address so we can send these things.
Okay.
So now butterfly.
So now the butterfly.
Yeah, so that is a needle minder and a butterfly needle minder and scissor fob.
Yeah.
With butterflies.
So the butterfly. Okay, it's right here. And we spin. Okay. And there it goes.
There it goes.
And the winner is.
Ta-da! It stopped.
Yeah, but it should say.
Oh,
there
Vicky
it is.
Vasquez.
Vicky.
Yay. Congratulations. Make sure you send us your address.
Actually, I think I have her address. Because
Well, she should send anyway, just in case you don't, because how's she gonna know?
she's purchased tons of stuff,
Oh,
so
okay.
I have her address.
Okay.
So for the third prize,
Wait a
my
second, let me write these.
hand spun yarn. I know, I'm
Oh.
just building up. And the little yarn purse with three pockets. It's so cute. I forgot how cute this was. I made it last week with a little button.
Yarn. Okay. Hello, come here. I'm just double checking the right. Okay. All right, and here's the thing, and there's the
Oh, go. There we go.
thing.
Well, this is pretty. Please send us a picture of what you decide to make with it, whoever wins. Oop, it stopped.
Yeah, I'm waiting for. There it goes. Yolanda Cerna.
Yay!
Hey, Yolanda.
So yeah,
You have her address too.
yes, I think I do now.
She wants something on this.
Yeah. Congratulations, Yolanda. So you will get this hand spun yarn and the little yarn purse. Fun. Fun. Oh, one of our viewers asked who dyed the fiber. It is, I don't know how to say it. Oh, and I lied to you. It was hand dyed in Vermont. I bought it in Maryland in a little store called Black Sheep Yarn Shop in Maryland. It was dyed in Vermont. It's Frabjous, Frabjous fibers. Hand dyed blue face Leicester for hand spinning, wet felting, and other wool crafts. And the colorway was Deep Space. Yeah, so this says it's hand dyed in Vermont. I can send you, Yolanda, this the fiber label from which I spun it. So sorry for the misinformation last week about it being hand dyed in Maryland. It was a long time ago. It was actually like February of 2020 that I got that yarn, that fiber. So congratulations to our 3 winners.
Yes.
So shall I start with stories? Or you want to start with stories? Who wants to start with stories?
I will.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's me.
This is double checking something about the yarn. Okay, so I meant to talk about this last time. Many of you have probably heard about these books. It's called Your Mother's Story. And my son gave this to me for Mother's Day. And it is homework. And I have been trying to write a page or 2 a day. Some of it is much longer than others. And I will seriously doubt if he can read my handwriting. But this book is fascinating, and honestly, my mother would probably have filled it pages and pages had I given it to her. And some of these, I wish I had. Mm-hmm. You know, questions like, what traditions do you hope to pass down to me and why? Mm-hmm. And who was your favorite family member that wasn't your mom or dad? Mm-hmm. And why were they your favorite? Do you have brothers and sisters? And, you know, that would have been really nice for mom and dad.
Yeah.
You know, because like
Mom
dad.
has a whole bunch, yeah.
Like dad, I was trying to talk to him and he's like, you know, and it would have been really nice. What does your yearbook say about you? Absolutely nothing. I mean, I was in a couple of things, you know, band and stuff like that, but it doesn't say anything about me. What was your greatest school accomplishment? Graduation.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
Can I see that?
Yeah.
I won't read your responses. I just want to see.
You can read them. There's nothing personal.
You're not putting in the good stuff?
I have yet to. But it just made me, you know, it was like such a interesting gift, and I'm kind of like enjoying some of this stuff.
There's
already
quotes
knows.
in here about moms and stuff.
Yeah. I'm kind of enjoying, but some of it's really hard. You have to really think.
Yeah.
You know,
There's, I guess, an email one that you can sign up your parents for. But I thought about that, but I remember thinking about that.
I would
when
have
Mom
been
was alive.
annoyed by that.
Well, you would have. No, I'm saying like it sends you a question every so often or whatever, but only if your parent
Does email.
can do email. Yeah, so this is nice.
Yeah, but email,
neat.
you get so many floods of email. I just feel like it would get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
neat.
Has anything from your past haunted you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Plead the fifth.
What rule did your parents teach you that turned out to be the most important rule of all?
Wow.
El
Those are good.
flojo trabaja doble.
Yeah, really.
The lazy one works double.
Hey, mama.
Yeah. But it's true.
It is true.
It is so true.
Yes, I live it every day.
Whenever you try to do a shortcut, you end up having to do it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Don't we know
Yeah. So, who influenced your style and taste as a teenager? I know some people who didn't.
that? Yeah.
I have to think about that one. But
That's neat.
yeah. And then my only other story was, as I've said, I have to have a knee replacement. So I finally got the nerve block in my knee so that it's not painful. Except that he's like, God, you're bleeding a lot. And I'm like, you
It's
used to
your
needle
fault.
this long. And so I have bruises like this on my knee.
Oh, man.
And it's swollen and it's from the shot.
Yeah.
I mean, the pain is actually not there anymore. But, you know, it's swollen, so like bending it and stuff and walking sometimes. And so I was like, I still can't get in the pool because I'm afraid I won't be able to get out. But it is so hot. It is so hot already.
Oh, no.
Aren't you hot?
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday I came in from, we went somewhere. Okay, it's not as hot as it gets, but it's been kind of cool. And then all of a sudden it's like, bleh.
Yeah.
I want to get in my pool.
Yeah,
So-
yesterday was real hot. We were running some errands, but
Yeah, we ran into each other at Target.
I drove up to Target. My husband and Hannah and I were at Target. We were looking for a camp stove, so we're going camping. And I see Eve walking across the walkway into Target, and so I rolled my
Beth
window
had
down.
gone the other way to get one of those
Yeah.
carts that was out there.
So I rolled my window down and I stopped there. There was other people there too, but I'm shameless. And I was like, "Hey, lady!"
And I was intentionally,
Hey,
I didn't know who it was.
lady!
And I'm intentionally ignoring her. And then some lady in Target goes, somebody's talking to you.
Yeah, this other lady turned around and was like, "What are you doing?"
And then I turn around and I go walk to them, and then I see Beth, and she's in that cart, and
Her
she's
cart was
pushing
like-
it. She's pushing it with one leg.
And I thought it was just like going slow because it was kind of, there were like kind of cracks in the asphalt, you know. And I thought, you know, and it was kind of getting stuck in the little cracks. And so I was kind of, you know, trying to scoop, but then it was like when it would start going, it was going, but.
And we're like, "I think you need to leave that one here. It's not gonna work."
So there was one inside.
And it was also dead.
It wouldn't move. It would move at all. It was plugged into the wall, so I thought, okay, well, it's been charging for a while. But whatever was wrong with it, it wouldn't move at all.
It might have been too dead.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, so I went to Boston, and Hannah graduated. Oh, somebody asked me what she's doing. She's going to be staying at the same school to get her master's. So that's what she's doing there. And it was beautiful. It was, oh gosh. So in the commencement ceremony, there was a cellist that played a piece that was commissioned by someone in New York who commissioned like a set of pieces called Songs of Isolation during the pandemic. And this one was called 7 because I guess it's 7 o'clock every night. People who live near the hospital, I think is the story, would applaud the change of shift, and so of healthcare workers, and so the composer wrote this piece, and it was so haunting and so beautiful. And the thing up on the screen said, you know, in remembrance of everyone we've lost. And so I lost it. I was sitting there sitting there in Jordan Hall, just crying so much. And it's so nice. Hannah's best friend Jordan's parents were there, and she just put her hand on my knee and comforted me and gave me a hanky. It was so nice. But it was a beautiful ceremony. And I was so grateful for, and the great thing is, Hannah and Jordan are best friends, and they got to walk, because of their last names, they got to walk right next to each other.
Oh.
And it was amazing. And even they made the superlatives of the most dynamic duo. It's so cute.
But you know, I really like the way they do their ceremonies with the music and all that.
They didn't use pomp and circumstance. They had like a Dixie kind of band to walk in with.
Oh.
It was so celebratory and neat.
Well,
and then
because they use music.
Yeah, and when they went out, there's this great fiddler there named Noah Kelly. He just by himself stood on the stage and did the most wonderful fiddling for everyone to leave. And so Jordan's parents and I stood there and waited, because the whole hall emptied, and he was just playing away. He was playing. And
is that anything like fiddling on the Titanic?
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. But we all waited till he was done. Yeah, it was so great.
Do you know what I heard? That one of those guys that was fiddling on the Titanic as it sunk, he was charged for the ruining of the suit by the company. They sent the bill to the parents.
Mm.
And it wasn't paid.
No. But so it was really great. It was a great ceremony, and it was fun.
Well, because I remember I've heard good clarinet players. I mean, Benny Goodman and stuff like that, right? But I went to her graduation ceremony.
My graduation.
Her graduation ceremony, and I heard an oboe, and I went, that's what they're supposed to sound like. No wonder people like them. And then somebody played the clarinet, and I went, because, you know, you hear clarinet in, you know, high school band and oboe in high school.
Didn't you and I play clarinet in high school band? Is she insulting us too?
No, yeah.
Yeah, she is. Okay, just clarifying. Oh, but so it was a good trip. I stayed with my old roommate, and she's great. We talked until the wee hours every night, and she's so funny. And then I don't know. Hannah and I. Let's see. What did we do? Well, Saturday so we met. I didn't see her Friday night when I got in, because she had a thing, and so we met at a brunch place on Saturday, and it was so good. We waited, I think it was just a Saturday morning. We waited an hour and a half for a 2-person table. It was a little tiny place. It's called Café Bonjour, I think, near downtown area, not too far from Park Street. Stop if you're in Boston. And it was so good. Well, I got there, so she said, we'll just meet there, you know. So she came from her house, and I came from Jen's house, and we met there. And I got there and put our name in, and because I beat her, and they're like, it'll be 50 minutes. I texted her, I'm like, it'll be 50 minutes. And she was about 20 minutes late anyway. I mean, not late, but she was just, you know, her timing. And so it was fine. So I had my knitting, and I sat down on a bench there, and everyone was like, you'll have a sweater done by the time you eat. and she said, do you want to go somewhere else? I'm like, well, because there were tons of people on the street waiting.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, if it's this popular, let's just wait. It was so worth it. It was so good.
You remember Monroe's in Albuquerque?
Yeah.
Well, when I first discovered Monroe's is a Mexican restaurant in Albuquerque. It was just the original one.
Yeah.
And it was in downtown Albuquerque. And I went there for lunch during work hours. You know, I went there for lunch. The line was out the door and around the building. And I got in and out before I needed to be back at work.
Oh, wow.
But I kept going back.
Yeah.
Because I still dream of their 000.
Yeah.
Which is a green chili cheeseburger. They had tables full. They had a counter packed.
Yeah.
And they were whipping out that food, you know.
Well, this place was taking its time, but so while we were waiting for our food, we're sitting in this little, we're like stuffed in this little corner, and right there was like the pastry thing. She's like, let's get one of those almond croissants to start with. And it was so good. It had like, well, you wouldn't have enjoyed it, Eve, because you would have had an allergic problem, but it had like an almond, like some kind of paste or something.
Like almond butter?
Yeah, I don't know, something inside.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. And then we had our food, and it was totally worth the wait, and I'm so going back. Maybe during the week, you
That's
know.
how
when
you
it's
know.
not so busy.
Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
people willing to wait,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
And then, so that was fun, and then we went to the concert that night. It was so hot that day, though. Oh, gosh, it was really hot. We were going to go to the beach, but we heard it was going to be cold-ish. And so Hannah canceled the beach, but then we decided to walk, but then it was hot and muggy, so I was all... Anyway, then we went to the concert that night, the commencement concert, and it was really nice, really well done. And then I can't remember what else, where we ate that night, but then Sunday we had a little brunch together, and then it was graduation, and then her best friend's folks took us to dinner at this really fancy Italian place. So fancy, like after they take your first course, whatever, they come and they clean up the tablecloth around you. You're like, I know I'm a slob, I'm sorry. But it was really good. It was really, really good, and very fancy. So that was fun to, you know, and I took the best picture I've ever taken of Hannah. Here, I'm going to put it right here. She's so beautiful. And the girls had fun being graduates, and then they went off with their friends afterward, and when we got out of there, it was raining. So it was like roasting hot, cold, rain, whatever, all in the same, like, I don't know. I packed a million things because I didn't know how to pack, because I saw some days were going to be cold and some days were going to be really hot, and, you know, and it might rain. And so it was like, but, and then on Monday, I decided to take Hannah on a whale watching tour. And we went through the New England aquarium people, and it was great. You got a guarantee that if they didn't find any whales, you would get a voucher to come back. So if you didn't see it, and the voucher never expires, so that's really nice. And they said, as we were in line, they're like, because we went on the 12 o'clock boat, and there was a 10 o'clock boat, and they said, we just talked to the 10 o'clock boat, and they said that there's 3-foot swells out there in the where you go. It's like a sanctuary area, about an hour and a half out from Boston Harbor, or from Boston proper. I mean, it's kind of like where Massachusetts curves around, and, you know, the tip of Cape Cod is there. It's kind of where we were. Anyway, they said there's 3-foot swells out there, so if you're prone to seasickness, you probably will have a problem, and if you have Dramamine, you should take it now, because it's preventative, and, you know, just be aware. And so I told Hannah, my father saw motion sickness as a sign of weakness. He always told it. No, I'm just joking. But he always taught us, like, look out, keep your head up, don't just be like this. And so I was a little nervous, you know. I was kind of like, because I forgot. So we went to that Italian place, and they were like, order this, let's get that, let's get this. So they had 2 appetizers and I got a half pasta and a dish, and then they're like, and we're gonna get dessert. So I got a tiramisu. So I got like a half mushroom pasta, which is really good, and then a chicken dish, which was like kind of like drumsticks and stuff, and then mashed whipped potatoes and really good veg and all this stuff. So it was a lot of food. And then I ate a tiramisu after. And I went home, and I think it was the chicken. It was like cooked kind of hard in a way, like the skin was very rendered, I guess you could say. It was like almost like too chewy. So it was very greasy, I think. And up until this, I've been on a new medicine, and it's like kind of like it's supposed to keep you on the straight and narrow, and if you venture very far, you are going to get very sick. But I'm on the get to know you dose, so it's not really like therapeutic yet. So I think I've been able to kind of not have a lot of effects. But that night, I think Rebelsis said, no, you cannot eat this much. You cannot do this. Or I got some kind of food poisoning. I don't know, from a fancy restaurant. But I was very sick that night. And I'm like, I was telling Jen when I got home, like, I don't think I can go to bed. So I had been so sick the night before. So then we go to this boat, and they're like, you're going to get seasick. And I'm like, So I was a little nervous. But they said if you sit toward the back and as low as possible, like on the sit outside at the back of the boat on the lowest deck, you'll be better than up high up front. Like, you'll feel it differently.
Yeah. And
so Hannah wanted to go to the second deck, but we sat in the back outside, and it was nice. And once we actually got really underway, when we got out of the harbor, they picked up speed, and we had passed by some really nice lighthouses. So Hannah went to the rail, and I really liked standing out there with the cold air on my face and looking out the horizon. I felt the best. And actually, when we were motoring, you didn't feel so much. There was a little bit, and it's a catamaran. It's not like a hull boat, so it was a different feel. But and it's a jet, not a propeller, which they say is safer for the whales. So we were, bouncing like this, but it wasn't bad, and I was pretty used to that. And so I stayed on the rail the whole way out there. And Hannah didn't like the wind after a point, but and it was pretty cold. And I got my hoodie under my hat and cinched myself up so my hat wouldn't blow away. And it was really nice. So then we get out to this. It's like a reef where they've made like a sanctuary where the humpbacks come back every year, and they also have right whales, which they say if they spot right whales, they won't go near them because they're very, very endangered. And they also I think they see killer whales, and they see I can't remember the other kind, but they see several. And so we saw some seals, and they were just kind of bobbing like, hey, what's up? It's so cute. And then we got out there, and we saw a whale that was rolling around, like flapping its fins like this.
Were those black dolphins following your boat?
No. And they're like, at first they were like, we think this is a juvenile. And sure enough, it was a calf, and the mother was around, although the mother wasn't on the surface as much. But I got to see the little blow, the blowhole, and I was able to spot a couple when they surfaced like that. It was really fun. And
Darcy Rose.
Yeah, but we got close to that baby, and he was just rolling around, just playing, and you could hear the slap of the water. And the mom would come and go, but she wasn't goofing around. But I guess so. They recognized her by the underside of her tail fluke because she dove down at one point, and they said, "Oh, that's Tornado." And I guess they've been naming whales in that area since 1979. Yeah. And I guess the first one they named was a whale they named Salt because she had like peppering. And I guess the underside of their fluke is almost like a fingerprint. Like everyone's different, and so that's how they recognize them. And he said that Salt has been back every year since 1979 and has brought 16 calves that they've seen and recognized with her. And so they're learning a lot. And I guess there was one whale with a harpoon stuck in the blubber that was 100 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So they think that whales actually live a lot longer than they thought. And it was interesting. And but so Tornado, I guess they recognized her, and this was her new calf, and I guess they have their babies in the Bahamas, and then they come up here and feed because it's plankton rich up there, up here, not here, but over there in Boston. And so it's really cool. And so then at one point, I was near the back of the boat, and all of a sudden, they're like, the baby surfaced right by the boat, and the guy said that that's what they call mugging. Like the whales will come right up to the boat. So they turned off the engines basically, and just say like when they come this close, we don't do anything. We don't move, and the baby was right there at the bottom, and then went right there at the back of the boat, and I got it on my phone and then or on my camera, and then we were watching because he went down, and we were watching the water there, and then I hear over here to the right, and I turned, and he came back up and was going. But it was so cool, and he was, because they said that especially the calves are really curious like that. And
there's a thing they called spy hopping, where the whales, where they come up and they look at with their eye.
Yeah, with one eye. Yeah, no, we didn't get that, but it was really neat, and I guess it's really cool when they dive, when they go down like that, and their fluke is the last thing to disappear, their tail. There's this weird spot in the water that's just like flat, like glass. Like there's waves all over, but right there where the whale has gone down, there's a spot, and they call it a fluke print, I think, or a fin print, something like that. And I guess the old fishermen used to think it was an oil slick that came off but it's just like the physics of the water being displaced and how it's displacing, and because they're going down like that. But you can see it makes this little, I have it on camera, this little flat spot. It's really weird. So that was so much fun. But, and that, when we were out there, when we got out there, when we were traveling, they passed out ginger chews for your stomach. And so I got a couple of those, and those helped. But when we were out there and the engines were kind of off, they were just puttering around, to find, they'd see a whale and they'd turn the boat this way, and then they'd turn the boat that way so that everybody could see it, kind of thing. And so we were not really going anywhere, and we weren't going very fast, and the exhaust from the engine was in your face, and then you could really feel and that's when I was like, I'm getting a little iffy. But what made it even worse was in the back of the boat, sitting in the middle of the back where we were on that second deck, there was a woman sitting in a bench like this. And she was just holding her head, and I'm like, because one of the announcers on the boat said something about like, you might start to look a little green, or you might get a little green around the gills. And Hannah says, "What does that mean? What is green around the gills?" And I don't know where the phrase comes from, what the origin of it is, but I said, it's when you look sick. And I said to Hannah, "See that lady? That's green around the gills." But it got to the point where, because I wanted to yell at her, like, look up, look out, take a deep breath, get out of the heat of the sun, like, do something. But she was just sitting there, like, trying to, like, and I'm like, she's going to throw up right in front of me. And I got to the point where we were out there, and I was feeling a little icky. If I was looking around and I caught sight of her, it made me nauseous. I'm like, I can't not look at that woman, because she was so miserable. And it was, I'm like, they said over and over, look at the horizon so your brain understands, get to, get fresh air.
When I was on the hovercraft, coming back from England to, I was going to land in Calais, they had just opened the channel. It had been so rough that one of the hovercraft had crashed into the cliffs, and they closed the channel. It was closed to all traffic, like the ferries and all that. And the day we were to go back, they opened it back up. And in order to not get seasick, you have to be able to look at the horizon, even in the car.
Yeah.
If you get seasick on car rides, it is because you are not looking outside.
Yeah.
So, you can't look out in a hovercraft. It's got windows that go like from here to the ceiling, right? Huge windows. As soon as it starts, the air displaces the water and it shoots up the sides of the hovercraft, and you cannot see out these windows.
Oh, no.
And they should have left the channel closed another day.
Oh, no.
Maybe two. Because we were here, then we were here, and we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here. And my ex-husband was... I was awake. There were little barf bags in front of us.
Yeah.
I was awake. People were throwing up
Oh,
all over. And I'm like, I'm not going to throw up. I am not
Because
going
our
to throw
Father
up.
sees
And it's only an
motion
hour.
sickness as a sign of weakness.
It's only an hour.
Yeah.
But it felt like 10. I was...
The captain said, "Don't be shy, let it fly, but do it outside. Don't throw up in our boat." She said.
I got off that hovercraft, and I completely understood people's wanting
Kissing
to
the
kiss
ground.
the ground.
Yeah.
Because I was never so happy to be on solid ground.
Oh,
The-
my God.
And for years after that, I had to take Dramamine to get on an airplane.
Oh.
I loved flying. But
Yeah.
I could not get on an airplane without it. I would get sick right away at the least bit of turbulence, and it was just the memory,
Yeah.
kicking in.
Well, when Dad used to tell us when we would go to Grandma's house and we would go through the Black Range and like that zigzag thing, and Dad would always say, "Look out the window, look out the window." And so I remember when I was in college, we went and the double reed ensemble went to Las Cruces, and our director that was the oboe teacher at the university, Darrell Randall, and he was from Las Cruces, and so he knew going through the Black Range and all that, and he talked about when he was a kid getting sick as a dog going through there, and how he had
Yeah.
and so I had all that experience growing up about car sickness and
Yeah.
looking out the window and all that, and I had even also read an article about like having your brain experience your eyes experience the same thing that your ears are feeling and your balance and all that
Right.
and so when I was in the symphony, we would do runouts and we would ride the bus to wherever, and the one that was very notorious was Hot Springs Village, which is there's the city of Hot Springs, and then Hot Springs Village is like almost like a retirement community kind of or whatever. But Hot Springs Village is in the mountain area between Little Rock and Hot Springs. And so, you get to a certain point and then you go off into Hot Springs Village and the bus is going like this, and it's usually dark, and there are some people who would be there reading the paper or reading a magazine or looking at their music, and I'm like, look out the window, because by the time we get to Hot Springs Village, you're gonna feel barfy, and then we have to do a concert, so there'd be all these people. Oh, I feel sick. When we get there, I'm like, that's because you're sitting there reading while the bus is going like this.
You know what you reminded me of when you were talking about being on the boat at first? When we were kids, you were maybe 3. We did a family trip to San Francisco, and we rode a boat around.
5.
Was it 5?
Yeah, she turned 5 in Oakland.
So we did a boat trip around Alcatraz, and we Paul, Aaron, and you and me, and I guess Tim, maybe Judy, we were all up at the front, and man, we got soaked, but it was so much fun. As the spray is hitting you, we're freezing because San Francisco is always cold.
Yeah.
We were roasting on that whole trip, except when we were in San Francisco.
Mom had to go buy Naomi some clothes.
She had to buy all of us. She had to buy sweaters for us because we were all. And I remember going through I think it was Ghirardelli Square. We were in the car and it was raining. Yeah, but when you were talking about being sick on the boat, when we went on that Star Trek fan cruise, the first one that I went on in '91, we went to dinner one evening and we had, and I think it was food poisoning because we had baked Alaska, and
you and Mona got sick.
Yeah, and me and Mona got sick, and she went and made herself throw up. Stuck her fingers down her throat and made herself throw up, and she felt fine.
No, because she didn't do it until after the movie.
Oh,
because anyway, we went down into the hold, and down there you can really feel stuff.
And it was very crowded, so we were like sitting on the floor.
Sitting on the floor up front, back when I could.
Yeah. And I was like, oh,
she and Mona were both.
Yeah. So Mona went up to the room and like made herself, throw up. And I went out on the deck and I sat there and I was just like, I fought it, So he's like, I'm going to look out the window. I'm going to look out into the horizon. I'm going to, Yeah.
Well, so the champion of all champions is Rachel, Mark's sister. So apparently they used to have a sailboat in their youth, and she would go down to the front of the boat in the little cabin and lay in there and read the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
Their whole family's like, how are you doing that? She's a champ. Hannah was a champ. She said she felt a little icky when we were looking at the whales.
You might have felt fine if you hadn't eaten whatever because you felt sick before you ate.
Yeah. Well, I could tell that I could get sick, but I didn't. I fought it. But on the way back, I was starting to feel a little icky. I think a lot of it was the exhaust, honestly. But on the way back, she's like, because they had like a snack bar in there and stuff, and she's like, would it gross you out if I ate a hot dog? I'm like, yes. I said, mostly because I do not want to smell it. But she went and got a pretzel, and actually putting the pretzel in my mouth was just exactly right. It really was. So that was Monday, and that was fun. And then Tuesday, it was so much fun. So I went out I packed up early and went from Jen's house. Jen lives way up in Medford, and then Hannah lives in like Jamaica Plain, which is like opposite. So I hadn't been out to her house much, and so I went out there. I packed up and put my stuff in her apartment, and then we went to the Arboretum, which is very close to her house, and it's this beautiful, they have like trees from all over the world that can coexist together, and it was just, but boy, did they walk me, these young people are so used to walking, and her friend CJ's like, I was running through here yesterday morning, and I'm like, good for you. At one point they were looking at this one hill, like, will you go up there? And I'm like, I don't want to walk up there.
Well, we went to, was it Chichen Itza that we went to?
No, it was, but it was one of those.
We went to a pyramid in Mexico off of a cruise. And the cruise ship took us to a little village near the pyramid. And there we bought bottles of water. Or did we buy those on the ship?
Bought them on the ship, yeah.
They were this big. They weighed a ton. But we were glad we had them. And we walked from there to the pyramid. We saw little ants carrying leaves.
Yeah.
Okay, they weren't little ants.
If you ever saw the movie The Ruins or read the book, that was exactly what it was like.
So we're walking, and we're walking, and we're walking some more, and finally we get to the pyramid. Mona, my friend, the goat, she is a goat, because she just ran up to the top, and before I knew it, there she was waiting. And Beth went part way up.
No, I went up one, but there were like 2 or 3 in that little village.
And I just looked up there and went.
And it's I climbed up one with her, and the thing is that the steps are like the
steps were almost as big as me.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
not
straight
climbing
up
the thing.
and down.
And not only that, but they're very high. We're used to. I guess it's a standard, for making steps, that they're a certain height or whatever.
And depth.
Yeah. And these steps are like each step that you go up, they're very high, very, very big steps like this. And then they're
and they're shallow,
straight up and
yeah,
down,
so,
and there's no railing.
So I went to our orchestra went to Mexico when I was in grad school, and we went to see the sun and the moon pyramids. I don't know where that was, but I climbed the moon. The sun was too big, but it was like climbing a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
You had to go up, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and down was
Mona
challenging.
She walked up, she walked down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then she did another one, and I was like, okay, I ain't doing that one. I'll take a picture of you. Yeah. I ain't doing that.
But and then we went back to after we came out of the Arboretum, they were like, we're gonna walk into the town of Jamaica Plain. It's very cute. It's so cute, and it's right here. And so I was like, okay. And we walked, and we walked, and we walked, and we walked. It was way further than I thought, but they're so young. They're like so fit. I'm like, I cannot be this old.
Well, and they walk all the time.
But it is a very cute little town. We were on their main street, and we had lunch at this really nice taco place. It was really good. And then we went to JP Licks and had ice cream. And then I went back to Hannah's and took a nap. And then we flew home. Okay, funny story. On my way out to Boston, I flew from Phoenix to Baltimore and thought that I had a long layover and went to eat lunch. And I was like, they put the food down, and I was like, what time is it? I have to be way over at my gate in half an hour. So I was like, eat fast, eat fast, eat fast. Walked fast, got there just in time to get in line. Mm-hmm. Didn't go to the bathroom, I had gone when I got off my first flight, so I was like, I'm okay. But then I'm standing in line going, I should have gone to the bathroom. So it's like 2:40, okay? Plane is supposed to leave at 3:10, right? But as you know, the night before I left, because of the way I am, I didn't sleep. Because I left at I had to be at the airport at 4 a.m, and by the time I was done doing everything I needed to do and packed and cleaning this up and securing that and doing blah, 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 it was 3. And I'm like, just take a shower, So I hadn't slept. And I was standing in Phoenix in security going... But the flight from Phoenix to Baltimore, I couldn't really sleep very much. And, but I don't know why, But so then I was really extra double tired, and I ate a meal. So I had food coming on. And I get on the plane. We load, 2:40. We get on the plane. I sit down. I queue up the movie I'm going to watch. But I think, I'll wait till we take off to start the movie because they're going to talk to me. And that's the last thing I remember. And I woke up with my phone still in my hand, no movie playing. And I look out, I'm like, okay, we're flying. And I look at my phone, which is hooked into, because I had hooked into the Wi-Fi on the plane. So it was, and it had adjusted when I was in Baltimore to, Eastern time. And I look at it and I'm like, it's an hour later than it should be. And I'm thinking back, no, I know we got on the... What? And it says, X many minutes till landing and expected arrival an hour later than it was supposed to be. And I was like, but wait, we're supposed to land at 4:40 or whatever. And it's saying 5:30. And I'm like, but... And I'm thinking, okay, there must be some time difference that I missed, or that is like, no, I was in Baltimore. That's Eastern time. I'm like, what is going on? And I can't think. I don't know. I don't understand. And finally we land. And as we were waiting to get off, there was nobody but in the middle seat. So I nudged the person on the aisle, this lady, and I was like, did we leave late or something? She was like, yeah, we sat on the tarmac for an hour.
You slept through it all.
Because they had trouble with the bags, and then we were going to be flying higher than they thought, and so they had to put more fuel, and we sat there forever. And I was like, thought I was like in some Twilight Zone episode or something, and I was like, and I felt bad because I would have messaged Jen, and I would have, and so I turned my phone on, and there's all these messages from Hannah. Did you land yet? Are you here yet? What's going on? And Mark's like, did you even take off yet? You know, all these messages from when I was. Anyway, because I had turned my phone on airplane mode, you know, before we even left. It was a good thing, I guess, because I slept through takeoff and everything. And she said, and it was really bad turbulence. And I think I remember waking up at one point and then just going back to sleep. I was dead to the world, literally dead to the world.
At least you didn't like end up like in another city or something.
One time on a flight to Baltimore, I think it was when I went out this one time to hear Hannah play. She had got concertmaster on this, and she had solos and stuff on this concert. So I did an extra special, just took off to see her, and then I think we went to Baltimore also because I like to fly through there, and connecting flight. Oh no! I didn't change planes. That's right. I didn't change planes. So I stayed on the plane, and then everybody got on for the next leg, and they're like, we're one passenger over. Double check, this is going to Boston, are you sure, da-da-da. And they were like, I think they're like, we're going to have to take everybody off the plane and rescan everyone's boarding pass. And we're like, no. And everyone was so mad. And like, same seats, you know. And we're like, do we take our stuff? Do we not take our stuff? What are we going to do? And because they kept counting and counting and counting and counting. And they kept coming up with one person over. And I'm like, this is the gate agent's fault. I'm all mad. So it turned out, all of a sudden, somebody rings their bell, and because I was kind of toward the back, and the flight attendant comes to the back, and then starts walking up, and this guy gets all his stuff, and he's at the back of the plane, and he does the walk of shame all the way to the front. And what it turned out was he was also going to Boston. And he thought he was supposed to stay on the plane. And he was supposed to actually get off and get on another plane that was going to Boston. So even though he was like, so he had just not looked at his itinerary, I guess, closely, and he was supposed to change planes, even though the plane he was on was also going to Boston. So, but it was like, it was so funny when they like, we're going to give you a voucher for money, da-da-da, whatever. And I'm like, oh man. But overall, it was a good play. Okay, so I get to the airport in Boston, and my daughter just yells at me. She's like, don't be like that, Mom. But I was so mad. Okay, so I've been flying a long time, and I've been flying Southwest a long time. So I go up, you know, in Southwest, you go to the kiosk, right? You put in your confirmation number, and I like to get printed. I don't know why. I like to waste paper. Sorry. I like to get printed boarding passes. So that I said, I don't know, I'm always worried my phone's going to die, or I don't know, you know, whatever. Yeah. So, and you know, and then you go check your luggage. Okay. So I got my boarding passes and I got my luggage tags. So you put your own luggage tags on, and then you have to go up to the thing to check your luggage. And usually they just glance at the tag on your bag and look at your ID. And they say bye. That's what they do in Phoenix. So we get there, and this woman goes, she looks at Hannah's on her phone, and blah, 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 she's fine. And then I put my bag up there, and I kind of just am handing her, like, I'm showing her like my boarding pass like this, and I have in my hand my luggage tag sticker, because you know you put the luggage tag on and you keep the sticker, which has the numbers, so in case they lose your bag. And I know how to keep track of my sticker. And I put it in a special place in my bag. So I know where it is when I get to my destination. I know how to do that. I also know how to use... And I also know how to read my boarding pass that says what gate I'm going to. And I am not an old woman. These are all important factors. So she goes... So I show her my ID, and she goes, here, give me that. Let me show you. And she takes my luggage sticker out of my hand and my boarding passes, and she goes, so see what I do? I do this. And she turns my boarding pass for this leg, not the second leg where I'm going to need my sticker. The second leg, she puts it on my first leg boarding pass. She takes it off the thing and sticks it to the back of my boarding pass. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I said, I keep that separate. Like, I just do that because it's easier. And then she gets a red pen and she goes, it's this gate. And this time. And go ahead and show up at, because it said, like, our boarding was at 7:10. And so it said to show up at 6:40. And she writes 6 o'clock on there. Go ahead and be there at 6 o'clock in case they leave early. And I'm like... And big red, that grease pencil kind of thing. And I'm like, you make me want to say very bad words. And I am not stupid, nor am I old. And I don't need you to, do you do this to everyone? You didn't do it to my daughter. You didn't stick her sticker to her forehead or whatever. I'm like, and I walk away from there and I was like,
those kids that flies alone, they put that tag around your neck or something.
It must be because you had a paper thing. She must go.
I don't know.
She's some little old biddy that doesn't know how to use electronics. I better.
And I was so angry, and Hannah's like, "Just let it go, Mom." I'm like, so we were, I don't know, doing something. I said, "Well, we have to get to our gate at 6 o'clock because that lady said so." I know how to fly. I was
and you
so
had
mad.
you had your sticker on the wrong boarding.
Well, I know
on the wrong thing.
I know. I'm like, because I said, well, I usually I sometimes get rid of the first one because I don't need it after I get on the plane. Now I have to make sure. I'm just like, I want to do my own thing. I don't need. What are you doing? I said to Hannah, that's going in the video. Oh my gosh. And then we were also delayed in that flight from Baltimore. Like, I don't know if they have some kind of baggage problem or something there. They don't have enough employees. I don't know what, but that we were late for baggage.
So, I made a long trip to New Orleans to send
your
motorcycle to Belgium when we went to Belgium. And I had to take a flight back from New Orleans to Houston to meet my family who were going to vacation in Houston. And for reasons I am not going to get into right here, I hadn't eaten and I didn't have any money, and I had to overstay my trip for Houston for a day because I couldn't get the motorcycle to the port. I finally was getting it there, but I had to change my flight and everything. So I was very late for my flight. And I'm running into the gate going, please, 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 still be there, because I did not want to stay another night. I didn't have any money to play for anything. I didn't have a checking account at that time. So, and I don't think I even had a credit card or a debit card or anything. It was a long time ago. I'm old. Anyway, I get to the check-in
you were
thing.
moving overseas, so yeah, weren't you?
Well, he was right then, and I was going to follow soon. Yeah. So things were like this. And we just used his account. He was in the Air Force. We just used his account. And so I didn't have checks or even writing checks. And, blah, blah, blah. So I was panicked. I hadn't eaten in, over a day. I just wanted to get to Houston where my mommy was. and so I'm running to check in, and they're like, oh, your plane has been delayed, and we can just get you on there, but you can't check your bag. Fortunately, it was smaller and it could go, because I'd been on a motorcycle. It was smaller so it could go on the plane. So I'm hauling to the gate. I get on. They said, and she said, they were having trouble closing the baggage door, right? I get on, and then they magically get it closed, and off I go. Lately, I watch a lot of videos on airplane issues, and I realize now that was probably the same baggage door issue that crashed some planes.
Oh no.
So I was like, okay, thank you God for taking care of me. But it had to have been a lot of taking care of me.
What is it Dad always says? The Lord takes care of stupid.
Well, my one late airplane that I missed was that time that I missed the airplane. And, it was like, I thought about, because I heard them say my name because they were looking for me. And I thought, well, do I go to the little, courtesy phone thing and say, hey, I'm on my way?
Or just
or
hustle.
just hustle. And I thought, well, I'll just hustle because, I thought, surely I'll make it.
Stop calling me Shirley.
And I got up there and they had just shut the door and they couldn't open it. So I was like, that's a one time I've missed a flight. I was like,
That's what I've never done.
But that was, I was coming here for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I had stayed up all night and I hadn't even packed because I was, I don't know what, cleaning my apartment or something because this guy.
I am not like those girls. I pack a day or two ahead of time.
Well, and because this kid was coming to feed my cats, and so I couldn't, leave my apartment a mess. Because blah blah blah. So I had been, I don't know, vacuuming or something, whatever.
El flojo trabajo doble.
Yes, flojo trabajo. So I was packing like in the crack of dawn. I was packing, and I had called. This was in the days before Uber and Lyft, or when Uber was just starting or something. I don't know.
You called a cab, right?
Yeah, so I had called a cab, and so I didn't want to call them too early because I wasn't done packing. I didn't want them to come to the door and honk the horn and me not come out or whatever. And so
this is called not planning ahead.
So I was packing it a lot. So I didn't call the taxi cab until the last minute, and then I but I was already running late. And I thought, well, if the taxi comes right away, I could just make it, blah blah blah. And so I went down to I had called the taxi cab, and I went down to the front of the apartment building where I was gonna meet the taxi car, and I was waiting and look at my watch, and they're not coming. I'm looking at my watch, and they're not coming. I'm like, ah! And so finally, the taxi pulls up, and I get in, and because I lived, downtown, you could go like a block and a half to the freeway and go to the airport, or you could go through town. And so the guy starts going through town, going all and I'm like, I'm gonna miss my flight. Hurry up, So then he gets on the freeway or whatever from the middle of I don't know where, and barely, So then he hustles a little bit to the airport, but then I had to go to check my bag and I had to go to security, blah blah blah, and of course I had to take my shoes off at the security thing and so I was putting my shoes back on when I heard my name over the thing.
No.
And I was like, do I just hurry? Because it was it's a little airport. It was just a hallway, basically. But I thought, well, do I hustle down the hallway or take the time to call him, And I'd never used one of those phones, so I didn't know what I was doing. So I just hustled down the hallway.
No,
and
you should have called, maybe.
Yeah, I should have called. Because
Lessons learned. Lessons in lateness. Speaking of hustling and packing early.
Yes.
We are we're going camping next week, so we're doing a mock packing, and we're gonna go through inventory and see if everything fits in my truck. My husband keeps buying things, and I'm like, you're gonna have to take your car. You're gonna have to take your car too.
Well, then he can't complain about you buying yarn if he's buying camping stuff.
One would think. One would think, but no, one would be wrong. He can still complain. No, but so we better go.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to find some time to practice for the.
Week after next, we're going to Albuquerque for our Youth Symphony reunion. That'll be fun. I'll come home with lots of stories for that.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining us. Congratulations to all of our winners. Yay!
Be sure and send us your address just to be sure.
Just to make sure.
Yeah. Because I may have your addresses somewhere, but I don't know.
So email us. Thank you for watching and joining us one more week. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.